Welcome, everyone, to another adventure into technical difficulty realities. Today, I am joined by one of my special mentorship students, Dave Farrow. Dave, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Andrew. How are you doing?
I'm doing great today. Now, we met 2016 event. No, we met before that. We've been Mount Shasta. So we've known each other
26.
for, yeah, it's about going on 4+ years now. And you've been a mentorship student since 2018 going on. And I wanted to bring you on today, even though it was last minute, to get people into the nature of asking questions from different layers and different levels. And Takira remembers his voice from Galactic History 2.0. Yes, Dave Farrow. Dave, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Andrew.
So
I'd like to.
let's get into some of the nitty gritty and the nature of the type of questions. Give people a little overview of some of the things that you want to ask.
Well, you look at the global narrative and try and figure out what's real, what's true. Which you said no one's guaranteed to tell you the truth. So I want to look at some questions because I have a geographic historical background and would like to go down to the different layers and see what's your take on what's going on.
Great. And later on, we're going to be interactive with the chat room here. So if anybody that's done Galactic History 2.0 and wants to ask questions, we will be taking callers later on in the show. So Dave, let's get started. What is the first question we want to do as a soft T-ball? Because I know you like baseball. I'm going to set the pitch up to me.
Okay, we have in global events the Chinese Communist Party meeting, for the next week.
Mm-hmm. So the Chinese a little background in it. So every year they meet to discuss their economy, their military, the types of garbage that they want to put forward on their people. And the new thing they're putting out is they're going to crack down on Hong Kong. They're going to put a very exclusive bill that's going to take in all the rights, which is going to trigger Hong Kong to go erupt again. And then they're going to be dealing with the actual damage that's been done by the virus that shall not be named because we will be demonetized. And then the next part is what's going on in the CCP is they're going to be doing a series of, let's just say, re-election scenarios. Not that they're actually going to re-elect anyone. They're going to be playing out scenarios. Who needs to be brought to the sacrificial scapegoat chopping block so that the party can't lose face with its ongoing future. Okay? The Manchurian people or Manchurian candidates that are being put forward right now are all going to be having a series of major issues because all of them launder huge amounts of money. Last year, there was a Chinese head of the Treasury who, under his house, they found $80 billion worth of gold and $200 billion in cash. Get that. $280 billion he had stashed in his own home, which he had robbed from the Communist Party. So they're going to be talking about their own internal corruptions that they're getting and the next level of what they're going to do to save face so that they can operate on something that's going to reflect a global domestic product growth or GDP growth. That's all going to be fake. Okay? They're going to be figuring out the next set of propaganda at the same time where Trump is really giving them the hard stick. And there hasn't been an American president that's given China a hard stick in many, many, many years. And what does the hard stick mean? Is you can't take our companies and rape us over the coals and do everything against us and not have any responsibility.
Exactly. Is there any deep state connection with the Chinese Communist Party?
100%. So you got to see the Chinese Communist Party as an extension of the triads and the criminal gangs. That's what it is. 96% of the people in the high level parties are a triad member, a gang member, or a world globalist who is a triad.
And it's, the ultimate example of a totalitarian state where they want to control everything. And, with the technology, they were doing that, locking everyone down. That's where, like you say, Trump with his export stuff too, with microchips, what effect is that going to have on their plan?
Well, the whole tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 import export business is completely fuckered right now. All the companies that are trying to get back online still have to be able to support a buying year that isn't going to be normal. The second, third, and fourth quarter that's coming up here. The second quarter already is a wash, but they're already putting out fake numbers. Our American stock market has recovered to 23,000, which is ridiculous. All the big boys, which are the big banks, all those, they've already deleveraged themselves so that when the next bank crash happens or bank runs happens, they won't be as exposed to their own counter betting, CDOs against their own products, or credit default swaps, or any of those other derivative products. Now, China it has a number of its own companies that are heavily exposed to derivative products. And this is where Chinese zombie companies come into play. And what is a zombie company? Something that is got a cool piece of technology, a mediocre management system, but doesn't actually do anything from the world. It's an office with people inside it, but it doesn't actually produce anything. It's a zombie company. It's fake. Here in the United States, that actually happens, but the SEC looks for fake companies that are being put on the stock markets for pump and dump. China actively creates tens of thousands of companies to be bought and sold, from penny stocks, dollar stocks, to $100 stocks. Now, these Chinese zombie companies, they've got to go. Otherwise, what will happen in the Chinese Communist Party is all of their mid-level people buy these zombie stocks. And then American mid-level people buy these zombie stocks, which keeps the whole system propped up. With the war between Russia and Saudi Arabian oil somewhat over right now, oil recovered from $15 a barrel to like $28 a barrel now. Oil needs to go back up to $50 a barrel, but there's still 700 tankers worldwide that haven't unloaded yet. And that will take a long time before those tankers are unloaded and they can start producing back at a higher level. So there's going to be a mass elimination of zombie stocks on the Chinese side. And then reciprocally, the Americans will have to get rid of a bunch of zombie stocks that prop up the secondary economy, which does not use the SWIFT transaction system.
Like criminal 3-card money with...
Good way to put it, criminal 3-card money. But the SWIFT system is the main banking system that uses money laundering to create legal money. But all governments can create their own money out of thin air. That's what their central banks do. Now, the Chinese central bank is going to create their version of fake money. The Americans have already created $15 trillion of fake money in the last 45 days to prop up its economy. And the Europeans have created about $2 trillion. So all in all, we're talking about like $30 trillion of fake money that's been created in the last 50 days. To support what? Overinflated, overpriced zombie companies, as well as the debt that is being incurred to mortgage owners who aren't paying mortgages, or renters that aren't getting rent, that's not feeding the beast inside its own belly.
So global leaders, back in 2000 admitted China to the World Trade Organization. Mm-hmm. And China promised to do, to kind of do Western democracy style.
It lied.
And what's the repercussions for that? You know, it's like everywhere it becomes even more and more exposed now.
Nothing. There's no repercussions for it. All you can do is rattle the cage with a stick, and that's all Trump is doing. There are no repercussions.
So going back to the Soleimani killing and the forces behind that wanting to speed things up, is this also happening with the Chinese situation and the virus and, you know, the global economic downturn? Is something going to arise out of these ashes?
Like a monster movie, and the monster comes back for the last act? Technically. Yes. What is it? Who knows right now? Who knows? I'm sure the virus isn't going to just go away. If the virus just goes away, what's that going to do to confidence in government? They tried to give us swine flu, Zika, H1N1. All those just disappeared out of the news cycle like they never happened. After lockdown, you think this virus is just going to disappear? No, it's not. Because they don't know what it is. And right now, they're trying to pump up all these other stock companies, medical bio stock companies, because there is a global determination at the elite level. Do they introduce next level technology now and make people pay through the arm and leg for it?
Does it lead to, you know, how many people are actually in the Chinese Communist Party?
Millions, but most of them aren't voting members. That's the hierarchical system of voting members.
But that's millions out of what, 1.3 billion?
Yeah, it's like 1.5% representation. Yeah.
So with this Orwellian lockdown that they have going now, you know, they want to inject people with vaccines, and, you know, it's like, is this part of a population eradication strategy that China has?
China already has a population control strategy that's very effective. They don't need to control it more. China actually wants more population. In all reality. Why? If there's 2 billion Chinese and 380 million Americans, what does that mean?
I remember, you know, as a kid, you can line them up 5 across and have them walk off a cliff and, you know, never end. So
it's not just military power, it's the economic power that it has. It wants to industrialize its whole area, but it's now learning industrialization comes with a high pollution cost that upsets the people.
Right. It's not natural what they've done, you know, with the forced migration to form these, you know, million people cities, you know, that have been, they call the China miracle, but it was just China lying through the WTO and, you know, having the lowest cost labor, which, you know, that's how you can put, you know, 280 billion in gold under your house, is because you're paying people 30 cents an hour or something.
Pretty much, right. Yeah. So China will continue to do what it's going to do. Now, I will bring up a hypothetical metaphor, and I combine these two words for a way to help people teach, learn, and understand. So China does not want more population reduction. It wants population increase. The globalists want population reduction. So I'm going to ask you, Dave, and everyone in the audience, why would China go against the globalists and increase its population when the globalists want population reduction?
They're going to send their population around the world. You know, with their belt and road philosophy, you know, and the control they think they have of the global supply chain. You know, it's like if other places are reduced, immigration of Chinese to other places who, you know, like the, 1,000 talents that they put in the American universities, who are Chinese Communist Party members who swore an oath to the party to defend it in its secrets, and anything that's
they're not loyal.
You know,
They're not loyal to that oath. The amount of money they're stealing from it proves. Remember, they're all a bunch of criminals at that level in the triads, and these are ancient criminal families.
What is the say, you know, like you have the reptilians associated with the British Crown? What kind of dimensional group comes through with you know, those triads and, you know, that?
So when it comes to lizard wizards running globalists, there's one faction of them that is the worst of the worst. And they have held on power for about 1,500 years consecutively. But they've been around in power for about 7,000 years. Okay? So think of it as they're constantly right on the edge of losing power. And how they're able to hold in power is they have members of the high oligarch families, which are direct surface breeders, fully entangled into their soul families to produce souls who aren't going to be in a draconian body anymore, but are going to be a being of domination and control. The draconians, what they're trying to do is not keep everybody in one racist skin suit. They want the 10 best skin suits who can produce the worst quality tyrants, dictators, and manipulators, so that there's a coalition of species breeding domination and control as forced evolution to take over parts of the world, the universe.
So yeah, to enforce that totalitarian, you know, regime lifestyle to the extent that they are is, you know, you have no human compassion. You know, it's just to keep your select group in power.
So they have compassion, just not for everybody else. It's a very selfish compassion. Just like racists defend their own point of view, but they still have compassion for their own people.
But not for humanity in general.
Correct. Or anything else that thinks and breathes that isn't a part of their race.
Okay, you've mentioned that the virus that won't be mentioned was a karmic resolution.
Yes, and it still is a karmic resolution.
What type of resolution would it have on that type of draconian domination and control DNA?
Many things. You know, first thing first, it's going to make their middleman management become very thin. Those that are their forever yes men, those soul families are going to be thinned out. And they're going to have to rely on secondary, tertiary yes men who may not be 100% yes men. So it's whittling away at the background power because it's the way the virus works. It follows karmic debt vehicles, those that are in support of the totalitarianism and those that are the totalitarian tyrants. So anything that's in a debt vehicle following pure authoritarianism, pure totalitarianism, it's going to strike those breeding groups the hardest. Now, breeding groups, let's say 1 out of every 10,000 born or 1 out of every 100,000 born might elevate itself up to mid-level management, and 1 out of every 10 million might make it to the high level of management through the military, through the gangs, or through, you know, ruthless, toothless business things. Okay. Now, the next level of understanding here is this virus is going around the world, and for everybody that says they think they know what it is, they don't. It is a polymorphic, chimeric virus. It is forever changing and altering itself in dimensions and timelines.
Does it have what is its relationship with, say, Earth Mother and, you know, the celestial mind?
It is a resolution. So Earth is. Dave, do you have a headset you could put on? I'm getting some echo from you.
Okay.
So it's a polymorphic chimeric virus, meaning it's forever changing. And as soon as you think you figure you know it, it's going to change something on itself.
All right, hold on.
Okay.
Plugging in now.
Okay. So if anybody has questions in the chat room, go ahead and type them in the chat room. If you're listening on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, Periscope, or any other place and want to come and join the conversation here, come and join zoom.us. Our meeting ID number is 911-001-1974. And if you wanted to join by a phone, the screen right now are the numbers for you to call via phone. That is toll free, other than the minutes that you are going to be charged unless you have unlimited minutes. So wherever you are watching and want to come and ask direct questions or be a call-in person, come join our Zoom room. So Nicola from the chat room, does the virus have a connection to Earth history? Our current history now, but it is bleeding backwards and forwards in time, searching for people that own or are a part of karmic debt vehicles. So yes, it is going forwards and backwards in time, but its origination point is here starting in 2019, October 2019. What DNA changes is the virus making in skin suits? A lot. It is activating and deactivating certain strands of totalitarian acceptance. It's something that was put into our DNA a long time ago by a variety of off-worlders to make us subservient to their charismas. And that's a whole strand of DNA consciousness that is fundamental rung by rung being eroded away by the virus.
So how does the human natural predisposition to freedom in the Chinese people, even though they're totally, outnumber them, how does that play a role?
I would not say that China has a predisposition to freedom as a people. And there are going to be a lot of people like, what are you talking about? Look at their history. They were dominated by kings who were forced to put down on their knees and kiss the ground of their god kings for the longest time. Okay? Freedom exists there, but it was stamped out and bred out. And now the virus will make it easier for people to resist the charismatic force of suppression.
Do they admire their government?
There are plenty of people that admire Trump, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's not everyone, though. There's plenty of people that admire the CCP, especially the ones that have gotten rich off of it. You think the slave labor person in the prison admires their government? No.
Yeah, they've created a huge, 300 million middle class with, since they were admitted to the WTO. And, those jobs, where have those jobs come from?
So World Trade Organization, what a farce.
What, WHO?
World Health Organization, what a farce. They don't actually do anything positive for the world.
Oh, look at what they silenced Taiwan, who with 23 million people had 400 cases and 7 deaths. Mm-hmm. 100 miles or that from the Chinese coast. And yet they can't speak at a conference that's supposed to be to help everyone.
Yes,
and they were told to keep politics out of it.
Yeah, and today, when the new Taiwanese president came into office, Trump authorized $400 million in elite torpedoes to be sold to them. That's called rattling the cage.
Happy party meeting there in Beijing.
Exactly, happy party meeting. We just gave you the top torpedoes of the world that will sink every ship you put in the water. Ha ha.
up and down the South China Sea.
Mm-hmm.
And another thing I heard was that the Chinese Communist Party went vegetarian.
I didn't hear
Is that virus related?
I didn't hear any of that. Where'd you hear that from? Conspiracy news?
On
vegetarian conspiracy news?
It was China in Focus, or either in India or Chinese in Focus.
Okay, I know a lot of Chinese people, and the ones that are vegetarian are do it out of choice for healthy living. The vast majority of them smoke 3 packs a day, drink tons of alcohol, and just consume all vast sorts of meats and weird foods. So it's the poor ones that have no money are the vegetarians on purpose.
Well, yeah, the story was kind of framed as, like, is there something in the meat supply now in China that the party knows about?
Well, yes, in February, at the same time coronavirus was going around, they had an Ebola pig virus destroying swine, and then they had another avian flu killing the chickens and ducks. So they had to kill like 30 or 50 million hogs and like 100 million birds. So that's real. But you have all these other small countries that are around China that they could easily import and fix that. Mongolia, Cambodia, Vietnam, okay? All of those, India, Bangladesh, they can get pigs and birds to replace that. No, it was not a mass sacrifice. This happens in China, pig Ebola. It happens every year there because they have very low quality farming, survivability of farming. You there, Dave?
Yeah.
Okay. Thought I lost you there for a second. So
reading the message.
Okay. So there's a lot that happens on a regular basis, and all too often, semi-informed conspiracy people think one story makes the giant story when in fact it doesn't.
Yeah, because you look at what they're doing with Australia in beef imports, and saying, oh, we're not going to take that. You would think that they've been importing all this meat, and who are they hurting more?
So first thing first, why would you put tariffs on beef if you're having a lack in pork and beef and all that other stuff?
Yeah.
Ooh. So all of a sudden, conspiracy theory falls apart.
Well, it was more in response to the, calling for an international probe into the origins of it. And then, like next day, we may not want that.
That's the story. But it's in all reality, Australia has already brought up criminal charges in the World Court and is trying to make its local courts being able to sue the Chinese government. It's already done that, actually. So the purpose of putting that on there is to get them to retract we're going to start taking you to court as a country and allow our individual citizens and businesses to sue you. That's the response. That's really what that's about. They have more than enough food.
Okay, so because
they need to import food from other places, and they can get food from anywhere. Just Australia was selling it for dirt cheap.
They own Smithfield Foods here in the U.S., one of the largest hog producers, and they're here in North Carolina, eastern North Carolina, they're shipping hog carcasses, to China.
So Cardaniel inside the chat room, can you actually feed 7 billion people with animals, kill 3 billion a day? You're doing the math all wrong. It's not just animals. There's fish, there's vegetables, there's all sorts of proteins. combinations, breakfast, lunches, and dinners. Most human beings only need 2 meals a day, okay, depending on the type of labor that they're doing. Yes, you can. You can feed billions of people with just rice. That's what China did for years in rice and bok choy. That's what most of them ate during the famine times. Okay? Or water chestnuts or whatever they could find that was growing in the outside in the land. And they learned how to survive and thrive on it.
Like the Greeks during the war,
Right.
Weeds and stuff that,
stuff you'd never think you could eat was what became Greek salad that you all eat today. So Dave, let's delve a little deeper. We've got a setup here, CCP virus, world going on, and you've asked about, the esoterics behind the triads and the groups, and we've got an understanding there. What do you think's going on in Europe now?
I think the entanglement, with China is showing in certain places that, kind of claim to be democracies, but are actually just, part of that global criminal network that seeks domination and control.
So let me ask you this. Do you think Europe is a democracy?
No. They have elected officials.
The majority of people in Europe are unelected. It is not a democracy, and not at all. It's just a faux democracy. It looks like one, talks like one, but it isn't one.
Monarchy or?
No, it's a technocracy. And China is the same thing. It's a technocracy.
But yeah, I know they use the technology to control.
Exactly. America is a bureaucracy, technocracy, and religious overtones and undertones behind it.
But doesn't it have freedom at its core?
In Europe?
In the U.S.?
Do you really have freedoms?
Yeah, I'd like to think I do, but
you have all the illusions of freedoms until they force vaccinate you, right? You don't have we have the illusion of freedom. We don't have freedom. Come on.
So then what is, how does this play into the Great Awakening?
The illusion of freedom becomes very real for everyone, that it is just an illusion. Then what? Now what? Now that we know it's an illusion, what are we going to tell the bureaucracy telling us it's real? Your illusion of freedom is real.
Well, as peacemakers and peacekeepers, how do we handle that situation?
Not everyone's a peacekeeper and peacemaker, or has been exposed to those teachings and has a long journey into self-healing and self-nurturing before they can make a stand against a faux democracy saying you have freedom without engaging in warfare. Peacemaker does not need to use warfare to create peace.
That's the conundrum here. How do we spread that? How do we make this a consciousness exploration?
By getting people out of denial, accepting their traumas, self-healing, self-nurturing, daily practice that has discipline, that uses prayer, that uses cleansing and purifying, healthy living, connecting back to a natural way of living, understanding peace as a choice, an enforced choice in your reality, so that the negative frequencies and energies that are all over this can't penetrate you and have something to stick to for long periods of time, so that you can have clarity of thought and access your super genius and outthink the world around you.
Does that result in a collapsing of this illusion?
Let's replace the word collapse with some other term.
Well, transition, but it's being pushed to such an extreme to keep its grips.
And what will it do? What will it do to hold on to power?
Anything, it looks like.
Okay. And what do we as peacekeepers and peacemakers who are realized beings do to not fall back into warfare with a system that will do anything to get us back into warfare with it?
Good question.
Ponder
How
that.
do you
ponder that? You can't change the laws. Cardaniel, you need natural law to uphold peace. Who enforces natural law without creating war? Eileen, don't dance with it. Well, what are you going to do when it comes right up into your face with a gun and says, dance with me? They can't stop you from dreaming, can they?
Can we be dream time creators that outcreate the system?
Mm-hmm. Great dream of peace. What does the great dream of peace mean? Dave, you got exposed to that. You got exposed to that during the mentorship teachings. What does it mean to you? And for anybody else that has been exposed to the teachings of the Great Dream of Peace, go on in the chat room over here and write what it means to you. Dreaming the Great Dream of Peace. And 3 answer words like Colleen's heart space awareness isn't really an answer. That's just vague light worker crap. You there, Dave? David?
I hear you.
There you are. You're back now. Something might be up with your headset.
Yeah.
I'm not picking on you, Colleen. It's just too many people think 3-word answers are a lot of effort. Just try more. 4-word answers privately messaged to me are the same thing. All right, Dave, you might have to take your headset out now. Dave.
I think we lost him.
I think we lost Dave. He'll be back in a moment. Len, how does outcreating them in a dream time manifest in the real world? You haven't had the dream yet, have you? When you have the dream, you'll understand it. All right, so as we're waiting for Dave to come back, maybe his phone died. Yes, the Great Dreamtime Awakening. I don't live in Indiana, Rasa. You gave him wrong directions in your dream. Oh no, Dave. The lizard wizards killed your phone. Dave, are you there?
Could have him try to come back on his computer
Okay.
if he can hear us. Dave, if you hear us, try to come back on your computer. We still have you up on that. but you'll need to engage your audio.
Alan, you got it. Remembering who we are by dreaming the great dream of peace. The Great Awakening is as much as a great remembering as it is an awakening. It's an awakening to our memories we forgot we had, which makes it very easy to walk away from a system of domination and control once we realize who we are.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
What a struggle.
The lizard wizard zapped your phone. Blame it on them. Blame it on them. It's all right.
Said I didn't have a SIM card.
Well, then your phone did get blasted by them. Yes, Alan, that's why we are the unvanquished great dreamers of peace. That is a code, being an unvanquished great dreamer of peace. It is a code that you can unpack and bring to greater awareness to yourself by just those words. Yes, Mufasa, remember who you are in the circle of light. So, Dave, there you go. Go ahead.
The great dream of peace and, reconnecting as a source being. And I remember in Seattle, just the feeling of almost being there with, ancestors and others holding that space. And it's getting out of the fear, the anxiety, and, not just being love and light, but actually, like you say, doing the practices and connecting with that frequency frequently.
Yes, understanding that it is a part of you, waiting for you to accept it in equal co-creation, non-competition, non-hierarchical order.
Because, with that, you look at, one of the greatest enemies of the Chinese Communist Party is Falun Gong.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Which is a religious order.
Being in with that energetic, frequency. And they're afraid, it's no guns, nothing, but, it's like they hunt them down. And they even saw something on Shenyang, that performance of Chinese culture. Have you ever seen that?
Oh, yeah, I have. Yes.
And they said, the Communist Party doesn't want that out there. They don't want that image of China. And they go to the extremes of cutting the tires on the tour bus, but not, deflating them, but wanting them to go when they, get up to speed and heat up. And they've done it several times. It's threatening theater owners if they do the show. And
I got a bit of irony. So I decided to do the show outside today, and it better not fucking rain. So I'm sitting on my outside porch, and since I started the show, there have been 4 giant hawks that have been flying around, scaring all the squirrels. And about 100 feet from me is this giant hawk. It just landed on a tree and literally just let out a giant turd as you were talking. So the Hawk Nation agrees with you.
All right.
And this is a giant hawk. I mean, this thing is huge. I can see it clear as day, and there's a white stream coming down. So the Hawk Nation agrees.
Thank you, Hawk Nation.
That's their social commentary on the Chinese CCP.
Okay, so we as peacemakers, peacekeepers, great dreamers of peace.
Unvanquished great dreamers of peace.
Unvanquished great dreamers of peace. Can you give us, a little inspiration, invocation in the moment to inspire us?
No. You have to inspire yourself.
All right.
And I said no because we literally are at the point you can't keep looking for external validation for inspiration. You gotta find that inner core you to self-inspire.
True. Yeah, that's and I think that's where I come from with the qigong practice and that, and moving meditation and being in that in all moments, like
And
you
that's
said, that
right in that space you love to be in. You enjoy that qigong space when you're doing it, right?
Yeah.
You love it.
And I love thinking about a seventh dimensional seed planet that I'm on, and being a truck driver delivery of some of that seventh dimensional stuff.
So what is it going to take for the world to find self-perpetuating inspiration on their own?
I think it is like being on that edge of great mystery.
Exactly.
You're there all the time, and like the spider teaching, grandma's spider teaching. Are you ready to face this?
Mm-hmm.
Your knowingness and unknowingness. You've got yourself to this point. Now what?
Now what? Exactly. I have had so many private sessions where people have had the greatest awakenings, or people that have come and done medicine journeys with me, and the universe has come and smacked them in the head and shown them something big, and I go, now what? You've had your 100% proof. Now what are you going to do with it?
Yeah,
and there's the dumb look on their face.
Well, some of it's a dumb smile on my face. I can be living in this, with experience on medicine all the time. That it's available there. Is your awareness, matching to your responsibility?
Equal to your level of response. Your awareness is equal to your level of responsibility, and your responsibility is equal to your level of awareness. And as soon as you go into awareness that you're not equal in responsibility to, what are you doing to yourself?
You're opening yourself up for
things you're not ready for.
Yeah. So what's the difference between things you're not ready for and a consciousness explorer going into new territory? How do you...
A consciousness explorer goes to the edge of their unknown with the intention of making the unknown known without fear. A person who is at instant gratification and who's full of the voluptuousness of beautiful energies thinks they can step forward without repercussion into the unknownness, and a bit of ego steps in and curiosity steps forward, and the need to instantly gratify questions and answer with answers without an understanding that you have to learn to ask the question correctly.
So is it an ongoing healing process always, or
healing is an ongoing process, and processes that make up a series of events.
So that's what makes creation fun. When you find, the audience and the others that you like here that respond to you, then you can, create at that another level, that your awareness takes you.
So I see Justin in there going, it's hard to ask the right questions. No, it's not hard to ask the right questions. You have to know the context. Stop asking instant gratification questions. Stop asking questions that have an expected answer to it. Go right under the edge of your unknowingness to ask a question. Dave, you've heard me say that over and over and over again. It's all about asking the question, right? And what have you gleaned in the years about asking a question to me?
Well, from the very beginning, it was about that. And I think it took me 2 years to be, muster up, enough knowingness to even ask a question on, or even, go for a reading, because it's like, wow, this just, it was the Galactic History 1. It was like a mind expanding thing that connected dots that I'd be on, learning other stuff and be nah, bullshit. Or, okay, now it's this, bullshit, and that. And you were able to put those together. And like you said, asking the question. And part of that is getting your mind out of the way and let it come from your heart.
Heart and mind in equal co-creation.
And later the intestine, let's bring that dream world in. And that, which has been another, aspect of what is real, that your teachings have helped expand, and like with the unvanquished dream of peace and entering the dream world and wanting to co-create with let me close the door here. Back it up. And yeah, it's all about the question and the nuances of it. You think of it and then you listen to the response without having a pre-programmed question to it. You go with the flow of the response.
Or allowing your mind to instantly fill in blanks when something is at the edge of your unknown.
Without judgment.
No, filling in the blanks is not judgments. Our minds do that.
That's what I mean, getting the judgment out of the way. You're like, because you think so. That's a dumb question. What do you think, Keegan?
No, I'll give an answer, and then instantly your mind's trying to fill in the blanks, make a story that isn't there. That's getting in your own way, and that's a big problem with a lot of people are asking a question. They go, yeah, I understand, because their mind's filling in the blanks, instead of to let it just be its own vacuous space so that you can expand with the answer, not create beyond it. When you're talking to me, you're not talking to a normal person, are you?
Exactly.
We're not debating semantics of science, are we?
No.
What are we doing?
We're exploring the infinite potential.
There you go. So good, David. You got it.
And that's
We're exploring the infinite potential.
And that's what you bring, with the sacred neutral to people, but you don't force it on them. They have to realize it themselves.
Right. Self-realization. Because I'm a being that's equal co-creation, non-competition, non-hierarchical order, non-duality, dreaming, I am realized being, here, manifest in the now. To do what? Help you understand the unlimited point of view in 26-letter encoded English alphabet.
That's amazing that, the sounds of 26 letters can encompass all of that.
It can define the infinite. It can.
And the colloquial now was a term of yours that, really drove that point home. Here are these phrases.
What does that, let's revisit that term, because there's a lot of people who haven't heard me use the colloquial now statements. When you first heard that, what was your interpretation of it, and how did it evolve?
Well, it was when I went to got the Living the Mystical Life Daily for the second year, it was included as one of the videos from the first year.
Yep.
And, it hit me, and it also, I kept putting the words down. It was like, okay, I got to know this. And I had a big board right over here that had the different expressions you said. It's almost like in my knowingness now, I don't think about it. But it was a way of, interpreting how your use of the language meant something very specific.
Yes, because its context is colloquial now. What is in the knowingness of the totality of our uncollective? Now that one will make some mind gears spoke.
I wrote, that really, captured my imagination in the teaching when I first came upon that.
I remember looking out onto the audience, and I'd use these phrases, and all of a sudden I see little mind bubbles with seizing gears above their heads.
Oh yeah, because it's like, I got to hold on to that one, but then another one comes, and then another one comes.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And, that's like you were saying just earlier, getting into that trust, to the edge of your knowingness, and then just letting it flow
without competing against it.
Dream weave, photonic being of light, streams of light. Some of the stuff I had under colloquial now. Learn to speak in the dream weave. Can you expand on that?
Learning to speak in the dream weave?
Yeah.
That is the highest form of prayer. When a daily practice that evolves into a weekly pastoral practice, that evolves into a monthly and yearly practice that has hindsight and foresight, you will hear those processes of self-illumination in the dream as a standing frequency, reminding you the duality is the singularity.
Duality is a singularity.
Yes. You are a non-separation being. You're the 0 point of the experience. And there are compartments of you that define compartments to duality when it is a singularity.
Is that for advancement?
Many things, not just advancement.
Yeah, back under there, I wrote that you were a linguistic magician.
Yes. I have been known to wordsmith, combine some words together that were never used before.
Spiritual hygiene.
Mm-hmm. That one still gets a lot of people. It's like giant brain freight trains hit each other when you combine those two words. Spiritual hygiene. What? How do you do that?
Yeah, you kind of breaks that, the love and light worker commercial industry that grew, that without, doing the authentic work. The colloquial now brings it home,
So let me ask anybody in the chat room from the term colloquial now who may have heard me use it before, what did you think of it when it first came out, and what was your evolving words with it? So Matthew, opinion, you are not going to solve life's biggest questions with third density awareness. I tend to differ with that. The answer is always the same in infinite terms, and the answer is infinite awareness. What is this? What is that? What should I do? Who is God? And all the aliens real? All the same answer, except what to do. That is the colloquial now, in my opinion. So if you just go and understand life's biggest questions are not what you've just said. Everyone is different when it comes to life's different questions. And because every question is different, everybody's life's questions are different. The only common thread is when you get past your biggest questions, what are some of the more rare questions you're afraid to ask? And then you'll really understand the next level of taking the colloquial now and applying it to you as a self-illuminated master. That one's going to fuck with you for a while. I can assure you that one.
Self-illuminated masters, another colloquial now of yours.
Uh-huh.
I have soul family.
Matthew, once again, most people don't ask the question, what if I die? They're afraid to ask that question. So you've got to go 2, 3, and 4 degrees of separation from the common questions. You've got to go deep to that layer of just on the edge of the unknown. That's something else, is another big cheat. 1, 2, and 3 degrees of separation of yourself or internally. Matthew, your guess you're struggling with the common question? Then don't use common questions anymore. Go to the edge of your unknownness. Get the rare questions. Get out of lightworker conspiracy community common questions that are asked, and stop asking questions for others and ask it solely for yourself without others' needs attached to it, or your need to help others, teach others. That's finding the laws of separation, 1, 2, and 3 degrees of separation from the common things that keep us in mediocrity.
Mediocrity, another big colloquial of yours. People that accept that as being the purpose here.
Eileen, the duality, how does it become singular? Very carefully. Yeah, I know. I'm being vague. So Dave, let's take a turn on this conversation. Let's talk about Galactic History 1.
Okay.
And what that did in general for you. Everyone here has already been big into Galactic History 1. What were some of the subject matters that really got you or opened you up?
Just the magnitude of what's out there for someone that had, grown up with, programming, religious, patriotic programming in that, that this is life, ABC, this is where it goes. And then it's like, oh, wait a minute. Time is not what you think it is. Experience is not what you think it is. And as you opened up, my awareness, with the Akashic Record, and I just remember being, I couldn't turn it off. I had just had an accident, which had me out of work, but it allowed me to watch, binge watch it, and then over and over, and then try and find more detail in that. And with your communication with, like the Lemurians, who were, traveling through time and thought they were, the main timeline, and timeline was something that was big. And understanding that above, below, and center. I've had so much since then. It's like it's all packed in a knowingness that I don't really revisit, because it's part of me now. I don't, before I found you, it was like I was questioning lots of stuff and no one put it together until like I first heard yours, and it's like, oh no, and that's all there is. Wait, no, there's got to be more. There's got to be more. And I can't really think of anything specific at the moment. I have the feeling of exploration in that stuck with me from the beginning.
Mm-hmm. And then as you began to study more with me, what were the next layers that you began to learn about?
The unseen world, stuff that you can't necessarily prove to other people unless they have that awareness. And then you start getting the synchronicities and confirmations of new levels of thinking, new awarenesses. And imagining yourself as a stream of light, and that your DNA is encoded light, and how can you use this vehicle, this method, I think you said earlier today, of interpreting reality.
Have you ever heard me say that I am technology is not the only technology in the universe for consciousness?
Ooh, no. Tell me more.
I have said that thousands of times, so many times until I stopped saying it because no one let it penetrate their brain. I am is not the only consciousness technology out there. I'll make this statement again, even though I've made it tens of thousands of times and explained it to the point I would turn blue in the face. Square peg, round hole.
Well, and that's, a lot of your teachings have many levels. And
Right.
that's why you can listen to it over and over. And I probably heard that then, but it just
didn't register. There are many other things beyond seed and egg technology too. I am is a technology that is used in a type of DNA skin suit in this section of space, of galaxy. We'll call it galaxy.
And are we we've talked about we were entering a new section
that uses different technology for I am.
So
we are as I am in a bigger form, Eileen. So it's still I am. It's I am realized with the responsibility to be we are.
Ooh, how can we do that now?
Self-discipline, self-mastery, self-healing, self-nurturing, daily practice, weekly practice, yearly practice, hindsight, foresight. Comes back to that.
Can external forces try and stop that?
Absolutely. By confusing you. Divide and conquer you.
Oh yeah, you can see that in the narrative, and it is every domination and control squirms now as unexpected events have happened, like you said, since October, and then again in January.
So Dave, I'm going to put you on the spot. Reach into your psychic awareness and make a set of friendly predictions that you think might happen in the next year. No competition here. Just reach into your psychic awareness.
I think there's going to be issues with holding elections.
Okay.
And that, and the one side tries to, Sleepy Joe's side says, let's just mail it in. Everything will be fine. We'll win and you can just go away. Weather.
Okay. Be a little bit more defining than weather. Weather will be an issue.
Weather extremes. Storms and lots of flooding.
Okay. In one of our mentorship classes, I had us regularly remote view different parts of the world. Allow your view of the country of India. And what do you think is going to happen there in the next year? And I'll challenge everyone out there to make a prediction about India in the next year, 12 months.
I'm thinking they're going to be a bigger player as this pandemic plays out. They have what they call a democracy, but it's, capitalism to the extreme, where you have, various classes of people. So,
okay.
No, that wasn't very specific. But...
Reach a little deeper.
Spirituality rising out, an awakening.
there might be a realized guru who begins to expose the faux realized gurus running religions there. And he might just get assassinated, which will make him a martyr, which will break down huge swaths of people who believe in XX or X guru. I make that as a prediction now.
I just, got the feeling of a spiritual awakening, but not.
Yes, triggered by a person who does all the right things of a guru and not all the wrong things of a guru. One that truly helps its people by giving the teachings without vague interpretations, making you wait decades to get one little tiny piece.
Yeah, more joy to it.
And how to free yourself from the false teachers without blaming them or taking vengeance on them. Make them irrelevant to your spiritual growth.
I just did, the awakened enlightenment. Like, I don't need you anymore. You've just been, spoon feeding me along.
You've been spoon feeding me the GMO sugar.
Yeah, not the self-illuminated master.
Exactly. Just giving me the high fructose corn syrup.
And then creating confirmation within the group that, hey, we're all okay. He's teaching us, helping us.
Okay. So now let's switch our perception to the United Kingdom. Refocus and allow yourself to just come up with the first feelings and thoughts of what could happen in the next year as a friendly prediction, not in competition with other predictions. What could go on in United Kingdom in the next year? Queen's immortal. She's not going to die. Monty.
It's more, like an awakening in the people. I think the quarantine will get the UK people thinking differently.
Okay, try a little harder. You've given it your first form. All right, you've taken your first taste. Now let's delve a little deeper.
But there are immigrant issues.
Don't let the global narrative influence your prediction. And this is for people typing in the chat also. Don't let the global narrative influence your choices.
Mm-hmm.
Eileen, one word light worker answers. Come on. Regina, one word aggressive answer. Come on. That's not prediction. That's bullshit.
Is the British Empire is kind of like what the Chinese are trying to do in the last 20 years, over hundreds of years, through the dominate, control, subjugate peoples around the world. How will, so the question is, how will a karmic virus affect that lineage?
You just asked the question. Now answer it. How will the karmic virus affect the British royal, the lineages that run the country?
See, now I don't know whether I'm imagining this or what you said earlier with the decimation of the Chinese middle management, but some of that structure will fall.
A breaking up of the United Kingdoms will begin. It will be a disunited kingdom.
Is that your vision?
I'm trying to help you out here.
Okay.
Okay. What is a disunited United Kingdom?
Scots take their money back. Northern Ireland, then. Been I've read stuff on that lately about really, if there's a karmic virus there, when you go and steal the counties in Ireland, claim it for Britain, and you have a potato famine because all the other food that's grown on that is for the British landlord. And you have people, there was a blight in the potatoes crop, and yet they were, exporting tremendous amounts of food.
Yep.
So that could
All right, so let's refocus energies. Let go of India, let go of Britain. Now let's go to the country of Brazil. Take a couple deep breaths. Don't let the global narrative influence you. Go right to the edge of your unknowingness and make a manifestation into knowingness.
with the extremes of poverty and I think there's more restlessness among the majority. Revolution.
So if you take the R out of revolution, what's left?
Evolution.
Okay. Look up into the skies of Brazil. What do you see?
Billowing clouds. Extreme rain.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay. So now let's erase our feelings on Brazil, United Kingdom, and India, and focus on the country of Mexico.
Just very aggressive, narco criminal.
That's the global narrative influencing you. Bad global narrative.
I feel something aggressive against people.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
try to go a little deeper.
some indigenous spiritual evolution.
Okay. Let's erase all the other countries we've done. Bring us back to sacred neutral. And go back to where we started. China. Don't let the global narrative influence you. And a lot of people are realizing how much the global narrative is influencing their capacity to predict on the edge of unknownness. Really challenge yourself to not allow the global narrative's tentacles into your nature of your prediction.
It's hard after trying to, find pattern recognition in the narrative.
You're looking for pattern recognition in the unknown side. It is your birthright and legacy to make the unknown known through pattern recognition.
Some form of chaos.
That's the global narrative.
But chaos in an iron boot.
I'm going to use a 2-word combination when it comes to China. Chastity belt. Will it stay on or will it come off?
By come off, you mean releasing the hounds on the people?
Okay. Will the chastity belt come off or will it stay on?
I think it comes off and they go after any dissent and all dissent. Not just in China.
Okay. That was intense to do that, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Now you ever know what it's like to me. Try doing that 900 shows in a row.
That's what's amazing, how you can separate the reality so distinctly, so consistently. You're not making it up here and changing it there. It's consistent throughout. And
everyone can do it. Am I particularly good at it? Yes, but everyone can do it. Everyone can do what I can do. Paul, it's not about the third eye. That's another bullshit light worker thing that they've marketed to you and everyone's bought.
So if you're looking to the infinite potential, how do you focus it down into?
By allowing the infinite potential to be a finite potential that's unfolding into an infinite potential inside you, and not allow your I am technology, which is in a finite state, to be in competition with an infinite state.
You brought in that I am technology.
Mm-hmm.
Or do we have the additional technology that we can utilize?
No, our DNA skin suits use I am as a technology to package, house, and hold consciousness so it can relate experiences throughout eras of history and time that can be stored from I am to I am as a beingness who has distinctness between I ams. But when I ams are not in technology, you are your unfettered consciousness. You're a part of the ocean of awareness and the sea of consciousness.
Okay, you talk in multiple universes. Is that consciousness in those? Or is that just
galaxies, star systems? You could be multiples of multiples and everywhere if you've evolved to that state.
Yeah, because that experimentation or exploration is what, motivates me in this life.
So what do you think other I am technologies would manifest like? Want to go right to the edge of everyone's unknown here.
It's that Dreamtime Explorer.
Dreams are still part of the I am experience.
No connections to others?
Keep going. We are is a part of I am technology. I am and we are one and the same. It's just a different scale of understanding with more responsibility.
Okay, you've talked about the uniworld we live in, layered over top of one another. Mm-hmm. How would new technology work with that?
It's not necessarily new technology. There's ancient technology before I am.
Within our DNA skin suit?
Our skin suits were created to house the technology of I am.
The vagus nerve?
To experience up to 50 colors in time. Something that does not use I am technology, what would it be like? Hypothesize. It uses another way to package consciousness to perceive and experience time.
The body gets, total sensation when I think like that. Mm-hmm. But I don't have a thought. It's a feeling.
Because the I am uses thought as a construct. And something that doesn't use I am doesn't need thoughts as a construct.
So the I am thought would be a limiting construct when trying to experience this other?
No, not really. It's just there are things that can be not thoughts, but are still similar in concept.
Yeah, because without the thought now, my whole body's pulsing, just trying to feel an energy. But it's almost like if I try and describe it, it pushes it away.
Mm-hmm. Paul got it. A planetary awareness of non-individuation. We are on the path to being celestial mediums, where we won't need IM technology anymore, the next level. And you won't need a collective consciousness anymore, because a collective consciousness is a limitation. And no AI is not already there.
So is that the seventh dimensional seed planet potential?
Which everyone can become one, because we've all lived on it for 52 million years times 4 timelines, so that we could all go see the new galaxies and universes that are going to be popping up. So we'd all go be celestial creators. Ta-da! Who can use IM technology for all that new life force that's going to come.
Space truckers delivering the
Exactly.
planet.
Space truckers.
Multi-dimensional space truckers.
Yes, Andrew and Donna, you get to make your own planets. And I actually said that in Galactic History 1. Another thing totally glossed over.
Oh yeah, you talked about people that
yes, I did.
Yeah. Yeah, like you got to let go of the limiting thoughts for that one.
Mm-hmm.
But I think of it as like, all the, fascinating places that I visited around the world. And, okay, I'm going to take that as a seed planet and, and take that out into the great mystery. Who's looking for those experiences on their planet?
That's right. Andrew Sarkis, I've talked about being a planet many, many times. Go back and listen to those shows. And no, I don't remember where they're at. Being a planet is not easy. It's got lots of responsibilities. Got all these whining I ams bitching at you all the time. Demanding you instantly gratify their wishes.
What's my purpose?
Exactly. Your purpose is to be alive, asshole. All right. So now we've had that little excursion. Let's go a little bigger in process here. I talk about the Pleiadians, the Arcturians, and the 10,000 other groups that are out there. Let's delve into one of them. Let's take a chat room vote what species we want to remote view and talk about.
Who were the musicians?
Arcturians. No blue chickens. So it's a tie between Pleiadian Arcturians and Syrians, Lyrians, Mantids. They're all like to me. Wow, a lot of people answering here. Oh, we got a activated chat room here. Kate Ring, is any more relevant to our immediate future? Yes. Many are relevant to our immediate future. But let's set the context. What does immediate mean without instant gratification?
Intervention.
Right. None of them are here to intervene.
And you've said that that's changed with the Soleimani assassination.
No, it's not really changed as much as it is non-choice, non-interference is now a choice. You're solidifying your choice by non-interfering. It's taking a stand. Yeah.
It's because someone else chose to interfere. And you were all kind of in the same group.
Universal laws coming to a head. As universal rules are coming, laws and rules are coming to a head now.
Does that have anything to do with the galactic plane?
No. Galactic plane is just the tidal forces that are eroding lack of decisions into a 0 point of decide.
With your power.
If you want to call it that. There's no decision in the chat room. They're so divided.
Bigfoot.
Yeah, Bigfoot's boring. Arcturians, bored. They've been here a long time and could be doing a lot of things they're not. Well, Eileen, the ones most relevant to our inner work. Everyone's inner work is different. Silver Legion, bullshit. Zetas, the intergalactic Indian telemarketers.
No, really, it's a good deal.
Exactly. Now log into your bank account and give me all your money.
You'll feel much better.
Yeah. Oh boy, I'm not gonna say it. No, not gonna say it. Ah, fuck it.
Yeah, do it.
The mantids, the JP Morgan Chase of species. Oh, Robert, what beings would be just out of our frequency in 3D, but able to help assist us with healing and things if we were to increase our frequency? Millions of them. Millions that don't even have names, that are just waiting for people to do that. More than the top 20 assholes who are stuck in non-interference interference. Those are the relevant ones. Vesselin, who is best suited for mentorship role for us now? of the species, no one should be in a mentorship role for us. We should be an equal co-creation. And there should be individual tutors who come and help us tutor us into greater awareness, but not mentorship in that form. Oh, Monty. Robert, let's bring in Monty onto the call. As we put Monty on the spot, as he's there in his pajamas.
No, I just woke up.
You're still in bed.
Well, I walk from the bed. My cat makes sure that I get up. So it's a fine balance between my familiar and her need for attention. So
your commute to work is very short.
Yeah, I can't be late. It's very annoying. Sorry, I'm late. The traffic in the hallway was just
your shoe. Exactly, your shoe was in the way.
Yeah, there was a T-shirt to the left, and I had to stop and cry. So yeah, but yeah, I mean, I've been part of the chat room, and I think it was more of a not selfish, but just my own point of view, like which race is very comedic, but that's probably just me finding my way in the universe with a cat. But my question for those that aren't in the Zoom room was, what is a race that hasn't engaged with us, that is looking on from afar and going, and I jokingly said, you people are weird.
A lot of them. A lot. And they have human TV to, like, it's like watching Beverly Hills Housewives.
Yep. Have you seen those memes? Like, they use gray aliens because that's the zeitgeist or the classic view of aliens.
Yeah.
It's like, what are you watching? Oh, we're watching Earth 2020. This shit's got real, man.
Mm-hmm. Shit's
like
got
murder
real.
hornets.
Space Aussies.
Yeah. You think that's funny, but I'm sure it's true. And there'll be, there's that Australian apathy where I'm sure outside of the galaxy of the Milky Way, and there's probably Space Aussies going, I'm not going in there. We'll just watch here. Go get me a beer.
What, did that guy just punch a kangaroo? What the fuck?
Oh, look now. Oh, that's the whole boxing kangaroo thing is a misnomer because they've got very short arms and they can't hit you, but they've got a really big tail and legs with claws on it, so they'll rip you apart.
Yeah.
So
tear your guts out. Yes.
Yeah. And some of them are 15 feet tall and can do like 80 miles an hour without breaking a sweat. So yeah. Just be careful of that. I did see a joke like God created a kangaroo and the angel said, oh, that's beautiful. It's like, yeah, no, they've got pockets.
So there are so many species out there that look at us as absolute weird, but they are intrigued beyond all get up. Okay. They're like, why the fuck would they be in that scenario? But it's like a show they can't get away from.
Yeah, Galactic Truman Show.
To an extent, you could call it that. Yes, a Galactic Truman Show.
Yeah, and I think it's because we're a mixture of many races, and I sort of explain it as with our DNA suit, we've got a AAA pass, access all areas, and we can go everywhere, and that's why the Dark Ones hate us, because we're more powerful, and that's why they dumb us down in a certain aspect. And I think it's not a defining difference, but one major difference is we've got emotions. We, and that part of the experience is to learn to control your emotions in a way. Like if you feel extreme grief, let it flow, but you don't live in it for 40 years. You know what I mean?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
The greater thing here though is we're such a unique weirdness because of the time travel and all these other species that's been interfering. So it's like this giant, super long soap opera that everybody, like thousands and thousands of species from around the universe, have been watching for 40 million years and passing on to their kids to watch also. So they have to binge watch like 40 million years of episodes.
Like catching up on Galactic History 1.
Exactly. What the fuck happened in season 1?
Yes. Well, we know about TV shows. It's interesting with so like Earth is sort of a focus of all creation at the moment in a way, isn't it? Because of what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, that which happens here affects many other places.
Yeah, that's how I get around if my joke bombs with a small human crowd. I know there's like galaxies pissing themselves, so that's my favorite.
Even though they don't have bodies, they're still pissing themselves.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's a figure of speech. Obviously, they don't urinate, or some may do. I don't know. They, who knows
making
about
a manifestation. That is your joke. The power of your joke has made a non-corporeal being piss itself as an experience.
I could start a medical practice. Are you constipated? Any having urethra problems? So to answer the question, like I know you said many, but there is like I think you've sort of mentioned it because you've covered a lot, which is fascinating, and so I'll probably have to lie down and let the last hour and a half compress or decompress. How many species want to engage and help, but it used to be a no interference law type thing. Are we changing? Are we having help behind the scenes in a certain way, but they're not interacting? They're letting us evolve, but say like if we're a flower growing in the middle of a footpath / sidewalk, they're trying to stop people run over it. Like they're blocking bad things for us, if we can say it that way.
How about they're stopping us from doing bad things to ourselves?
Well, yeah, well, like that, yeah. Well, that will make because the whole thing there, they don't want another nuclear exchange on the planet because I'm sure the planet's up, doesn't want that again.
Or other things, but so instead of us being a flower protecting us as a flower on a footpath, or perceiving us as the pile of weeds in the beautiful garden, or giving us any other definition other than individuals who are in a situation that has been created by tens of thousands of other species using DNA farming to create a scenario in which a handful of species are running a collective narrative that is starting to affect the rest of the universe. And many of the other species do not want to be affected by a collective narrative that isn't their own. Thus, the battle is for the collective to stop the collective narrative from rewriting real history.
Yeah. So
there is help for every individual. There are more than enough off-world beings who are peacekeepers and peacemakers who are waiting for us to open up our frequencies in equal co-creation, non-competition, non-hierarchical order, with spiritual hygiene, so they can tutor us in our evolution and not become our gurus. Separate of government, separate of global awareness, separate of disclosure and all of that.
Is that because they've gone through something similar of what we're going through? Because I know...
Yes, they have gone through their versions of this in their worlds. This is just the pinnacle of all of the great domination and control technologies have been set up here.
Yeah. And I think from a soul point of view, it's like, awesome, we've done that. But at the same time, I'm extremely tired and I'd like it to finish. But yeah, we'll see how it unfolds.
Yes. Dave, you still there?
Yeah. What you just brought up, the Earth being the most fortified planet. Is that still true?
Yes, Earth is the most fortified planet. And yes, it's still the most. Earth is still the most fortified planet in the world, and it's why our awakening is so tough.
All right. Are there galactic bookies who are taking bets on what will happen here as part
Oh
of the
yes,
long running.
oh yes. There is a huge spiritual betting network on what's going to happen here. Yes.
Can you read any of the odds of what they're?
I was going to ask that. Yeah, what are the odds going for? Space Vegas.
Space Vegas. I have talked about I have talked about the Vegas betting odds here before. So it's hard to give, like, the Arcturians are betting this way, the Palladians are betting this way, because it doesn't really break down. It's individuals have their own bets going, or sub collectives have their own bets going, and the majority of their bets are: is somebody going to stand up and be willing to take the hit to not be a guru and do the right thing in the governments? So a lot of the betting, we'll say a good portion of the betting, is somebody going to do the right thing and be willing to stand up and do it? Okay? Because there's a lot of really fucking powerful souls on this planet right now in government positions that know in their heart of the hearts they can make a difference if they were to stand up and start a movement. But they're all too afraid of going chicken shits. That's the big betting odd. Which one of those super motherfuckers going to step up and try?
Well, that video you sent me of the independent in the Italian parliament, I'm not sure if she's, but because that happened, it's added to our narrative, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. And it's like, she spent 5 minutes and basically said we should arrest Bill Gates, which is a major step forward, even if like nothing happens with her. But the idea of someone standing up and actually representing people like they're supposed to.
Right. So I'm going to put a link here in the chat room, a YouTube link. And I sent this to Monty the other day. And what it is a lady in the Italian parliament speaking for about 6 minutes, talking about Bill Gates and having the Italian parliament put an arrest warrant out for Bill Gates, which they did, but didn't make global news. Okay.
Interesting enough, very, very quickly as well, you hear the Speaker of the House or the President of the House, the person who guides Parliament inside the actual building, he said everyone has an opinion. If you disagree with this person, you can talk about it later. A lot of that sort of was a great thing as well, where the corruption wasn't there. The president of the chamber told off everyone else who was yelling at her. And it's, it looked like what Parliament should be, if I can say it that way.
Yeah, video has been removed. Damn it. Sorry, guys. Sorry, guys. The video's been removed.
Violating community guidelines of you may think and have critical thinking, and you haven't fallen in lockstep with our thinking.
Yeah. So on the other side, there are people that are trying to make bets. Will a non-interfering group who has been touting their perfectness of non-interfering suddenly interfere and going, come on, guys, time to interfere, even though for the last 5 million years, they've been telling everyone to not interfere. Okay? That's another set of betting. Now, on a more strange side of the betting, because there's so many powerful souls on this world who are unrealized, betting does affect them. So there are these groups who come together and see a homeless kid in Africa, and they put billions of energetic credits to bet that this guy will do something in his lifetime, or this person or that person. So that's the more skewed side. And then there's the hollow earth betting. Now, they're affected different by this betting system. And really what the off-worlders with this betting, because the hollow earth see the odds, and they try to fix and rig bets just like boxing. You're gonna go down on the cheating, gonna go down on the third round, but make it look good.
Thank you for that. There's a spiritual Don King. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. Down in Hollow Earth, there's a spiritual Don King. Okay, Robert has been able to find another link to the Italian congresswoman that's speaking. So it's inside the chat room now. And now there's other bets. It's like in basketball, you want to bet on points, or any game, you want to bet on the point spread. So what do you think the point spread is on the Great Awakening?
2-1.
Now,
when is there a?
And there are people betting against it too.
The Big Short. Hey, I'm for peace, love among beings, but these
I'm sure,
humans are weird and smelly.
Exactly. There's a lot of people that are shorting the Great Awakening.
Hey, they failed 3 times. What do you make? 4's a go.
Right. And then you got the ones that are betting on the bad guys. Go forced evolution. You got them. You took away all their freedoms and they're idiots. They'll never figure this out.
Now, is everyone that's betting, if everyone's betting against us, when humanity breaks out of the chains or whatever, I'm going to be a bit cheeky.
We collect.
Yeah.
We send out Earth Shylocks. Exactly. We send out the boys.
Hello, hired goons. Uh-oh. Because I think it was said on my show this week or last week, if there is disclosure where, for whatever reason, the ships in the sky and the general public actually take in the idea there are aliens and we're not alone, if I was the leader of the world, which I don't say that often because I don't want to be the leader. I'm lazy. But it'll be sort of like, awesome, we're not alone. Now, see Pluto, go park there for 12 months while humanity figures this out. Because humanity needs an agenda, if I can say it that way. We don't need someone in saying, oh, you should. I've seen I've seen a lot of sci-fi films. Well, once we know that knowledge, we need time to actually uncompress that information, if that's a good way of saying it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, quick question. When, if there is disclosure, what will unlock in the collective consciousness?
What is disclosure?
All right. When
what that we haven't already been told.
Yeah, well, if we're going with the mainstream and the general public, like, I mean, I know the Pentagon said like there are UFOs and everyone ignored it, but if they've
said it like 10 times.
Yeah, I know.
But there's killer hornets,
murder hornets.
Oh, I like the flame throwing squirrels. They're good. But what, like, well,
so let's get to the nitty gritty. And I've done this conversation before. What is disclosure? I have both of you give your points of view on it.
Well, that would be all the information that's already out there is realized by the masses. I hate the English language sometimes. I always get it wrong, but it's like it's an idea. But a lot of people are afraid of that idea because it smashes their paradigm.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not weaponized, but it's a marketing term. Oh, there's disclosure. But we've had conversations where what is new in the conspiracy theory? Well, because of the virus that shall not be named, everyone's freaking out. Apart from that, the information's been repeated since 2012.
Yeah. Dave, what is disclosure?
I think it has to be an individual because, society is easily manipulated. We've proven that. Mm-hmm. So it's an individual awareness to the greaterness of life. That's a word.
Does disclosure have to come from our global narrative?
Well, would disclosure destroy the global narrative?
Good question.
I don't think it can because, what do they have? Operation Blue Beam up there too to fake a disclosure?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't think Blue Beam would work though, because the idea originally was to have a deity over a country and everyone would fall down. I live in Australia. We love sports people. So unless you have the super friends from like we have Buddha and Krishna and everyone, and if you had everyone turn up and there's the atheists and everyone else, I'm a Jedi.
Yeah.
I'm going to see Darth Vader turn up.
Buddha scores nine goals on the atheists.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and then Buddha says, now you have to deal with that. Deal with that suffering.
Robert, are you there? Let me ask you, what does disclosure mean to you?
Okay. What I was thinking is back to the question about it being from the global narrative or outside of that. I think it has to come from within it. And what it means to me is that there is information that is told that would empower humans instead of information that's been being hidden and kept from us that has kept us disempowered. And in that information to me can come in many, many forms.
Mm-hmm. It's a mutual exploration of the truth from the global narrative and individuals, and not exclusive to one.
That's along the lines, yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't think someone can come from outside of the narrative and say, hey, here's the truth, knocking it over people's heads.
And what is outside of the narrative?
My first thought is when people have the idea that we're going to be saved by some greater consciousness beings that are going to help lift us up. But then again, if they're contacting and they're now interacting, then that becomes part of the narrative.
Mm-hmm.
But on a more
and then people are not
scale.
And then people are not ridiculed for that form of contact.
No.
For me, real disclosure is when you stop the ridiculing of the unlimited point of view that people experience.
Yes. From the conspiracy world, I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
I have a round table where it's like, it's A, B, or C. Well, it could be D. Oh, you're just being silly. Yeah, of course. You believe this, you believe that. It's a kaleidoscope of life, and we're all going through our own personal experiences. And so we have our own dream bubble and belief engine. And then you have conflict and drama. And it's like, no wonder we're not moving forward.
Disclosure requires a depolarization of all the charge everyone is using to argue their point of view.
Yeah, I like your description of something like comedians, like say a Joe Rogan and David Chappelle on stage. Like, here it is.
Yeah, they could do
reality.
They could do it.
Yeah, because through humor, you can put it into a form of a story where they're telling information, but they can bring it personal. Like, now, when I heard about this, I freaked out, or I reacted this way. I was on ayahuasca and I met a green lady and she was awesome, or however you want to do it. Instead of like, you don't want a Henry Kissinger type of guy. Like, yes, we've met the Arcturians and they want to help us. Yay. There's an element of marketing and expression.
Imagine if Dave Chappelle talked about his experience. They're just like us. They're just like us.
Yes, because I'm sure he would use the N-word a lot about certain races to get laughs. And like, this is going to get a bit difficult.
Okay. Just like us. They got issues. Okay.
Yeah, like a form of disclosure, my comedic brain came up with, there'll be an alien race that no one's heard of, just turns up and is like, look, can you evolve? I have a thing. We're tired of waiting.
They tried that already.
Yeah.
They tried that already.
Now, here's a question about time. Now the Earth has its own version of time or time construct. When you leave the planet, because there's variations of time, isn't there? Because it's a social construct in perception.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. So, like, say a century here could be a nanosecond for the Greys or Arcturians or Syrians and stuff.
Exactly. All right. So I'm going to be up this level. Okay. if there were to be disclosure with the variety of ways that we've talked about, what would make it stick? And that it wouldn't be replaced by the next news cycle. Iran says it's not real, or Putin is in love with somebody from Venus and has a love child.
Yeah, Putin is a Venetian. Now, I do remember you, because I remember we had the conversation sort of about this when there is a form of disclosure. I think we got up to about 17 religions collapsing, which included science, and the atheist was an interesting one because they realized there is something, and then they turned to all these other religions that are collapsing at the same time. Like, ooh, hate to be you. But the way you expressed it last time is if, say 3 or 6 major news sources did it at the same time, because if one does it, it can get lost in the cycle and ignored. But if enough of the core, like routers, whatever they're called, APP, if 3 or 4 of them release a story at the same time, it falls into that media cycle and everyone will go with it because the perception is that, getting the headline first and all that type of thing. If one does it, it's like, oh, that's just being silly. But if there's 3 or 4 of the core news networks doing it, then they'll run with it.
Dave, what about? Hold on, we got Dave get me here. What do you think about you? What's going to make it stick?
Well, I think what you talked about before, that with the major concerts, live events, synchronized, so that it's an unmistakable, real experience that's around the world.
So like an Earth Rave 2020 2029. Get your tickets now.
Race Aid.
Well,
Race Aid.
Wasn't it before?
Go ahead, Dave. Sorry.
Wasn't it like before, like Bob Marley and some of the others were gonna stop in the middle of a concert and all.
Yep. Day the music died. Yep. The day the music died. Yep. That is correct.
I think it's going to have to be some live event because you can't trust the narrative. And any, global newscaster that, they can shape it when it's, something like your event at the Indians game, is palpable to you. And, if others have that same experience, there can be, a rising of that dream time or awakening.
Okay.
When that happens, how would it work on an energetic level? Because if you remember the 1984 Los Angeles Olympics, where they had a UFO land and they had an alien come out, that was Hollywood at its best for the time. It was like, wow, that looks very real. However, like if I'm going to use an example of Metallica playing to 50,000 people, and then James says, this is, Buck, whatever, from the planet Fofo. You've got the seeing, believing, but if you've got the right species, wouldn't they connect on an energetic level? So there is that knowing from your inner perspective.
It wouldn't be one species. And yes, theoretically, everyone could have their own individual alien making direct contact with them. There's more than enough of them out there to do it.
Mm-hmm. Because I've jokingly said, like, if the sky is full of UFOs, some people will have to go inside their house to see it on television to believe it.
Exactly. Okay, Robert, let me bring you in here. What will make it stick? Disclosure stick.
I think for me, it's along the lines of what you were just saying, and what Dave was saying, that there's an element of truth that each person experiences for real for themselves out of it. I don't think it's something that would be done through the media as far as information, but more of an experience. Like if an alien came down and sat here and said, oh, let's have a conversation, I would be pretty moved by that, never having had that experience. So it has to be irrefutable and leaving me with an element of truth is the way I see it.
Individuated personal contact.
Would that be in dream time or 3D?
Whatever's not going to create fear in you.
Oh yeah, so, yeah, because it's an inside job basically. We're all going through our own personal awakenings.
Exactly. Okay. Hold on, I saw something.
And I think, like you were saying, Monty, telepathically, you know, that there's a knowingness that's there in the experiencer.
Yeah, I could see that sort of unfolding for some people, because that will break through their conditioning through the mind, where it's that, as David Icke says, we're in a 5 sense thing. However, if an alien or a being connects through the heart and you've got that knowing, that can break that block down. And I wouldn't want to be that person, because you have to deal with that after the ramifications of that. But John Maxwell said, it's why a lot of Christians say they're believers. Why aren't they knowers? And that's helped me, where I rather know than believe.
Mm-hmm. What's going to stop the religious or atheistic zealots from creating harm to disclosure?
Well, because their scam. Sorry about the language, but their scam is over, because the organized crime of the organized religion, the church, where they have control and they get money. And then if you find out that you're a multi-dimensional being co-creator that can be free and find your sovereignty, they lose control over it. And so all aliens are demons.
Exactly. All right, guys, we're going to end the show now. This is a great way to end it. Dave, thanks a lot for coming on. Auntie, thanks a lot for coming on. We will be here tomorrow for our comedy show.
Mm-hmm. Wearing tails.
Wearing tails, and David will be in the bathtub for his first half hour. Ha 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 ha. And all right, so we were having more technical difficulties. Hold on, Dave and Monty. Hold on one second. Oh, Robert got booted out.
No, I'm here.
Okay, you're there. Okay, there you are. Can you go ahead and put us in the breakout room, and we'll go ahead and end the show?
All right. There we go.
Okay. Reality is true. A galactic historian is a person that looks at all the lines of dramatic karma. Nudge, nudge. It's the Holy Grail. Improvise. Mysterious. It's counter psychic intelligence.
Why is DNA farming of this star cluster so important?
Because we do manifest our reality. We do create our reality.